Hello and welcome to Digital Leaders Innovation Week. How can we apply environmental, social and governance policies to our information and communications technology, ESG policies to our ICT? I am George Cook, Honorary Chief Executive of Computers for Charity. Our speciality and area of expertise is in data wiping, refurbishing, upgrading where practical, and distributing devices to the most needy in our community, where they will make the biggest impact and improvement in people's lives. I have been doing this for 25 years. The starting point, I would suggest, is recognizing the need. We are all increasingly aware of climate change, increasing world temperatures, more extreme weather events and rising sea levels, all linked to mankind's emission of carbon dioxide, CO2, into the Earth's atmosphere. We can also see the divide between rich and poor, the digitally connected from those who are without access and left behind. According to Capgemini's Environmental Sustainability Performance Report 2021-22, ICT accounts for about 3% of global CO2 emissions. That is more than Spain, Italy, France and Portugal combined, and this carbon footprint is growing. SustainableIT.org, a non-profit organization focused on advanced global sustainability through technology leadership, and it says that electronic waste is becoming the largest waste stream in the world, with 57 million tons being generated each year. Millions of devices are shredded every year for materials recycling or just dumped, wasting valuable assets that could help our communities and reduce CO2 emissions. This causes pollution and deprives digital access for people who are in need, those who are on the wrong side of the digital divide. Digital exclusion is inextricably linked to wider inequalities in society and is more likely to be faced by those on low incomes, people over 65 and disabled people. When the pandemic hit in March 2020, in Britain, only 51% of households earning between $6,000 and $10,000 a year had home internet access, compared with 99% of households with an income of over $40,000. The Centre for Economics and Business Research, CEBR, estimates that there are approximately 10.6 million people in the UK without basic digital access and skills in 2022. Without further additional intervention, 5.8 million people in the UK are estimated to remain digitally excluded by the end of 2032. The Good Things Foundation report, Digital Nation 2022, says that 16% of 18 to 25-year-olds in the UK do not have access to a laptop or a desktop. Within our community, there are people who are in the greatest need and for whom digital access will benefit the most, to whom giving a device will make the maximum impact. There are charities who holistically support them and through whom computer donations can be part of wider all-round care. For example, young carers, homeless youth, hospice patients, charity volunteers, unemployed veterans, and bereaved forces children. A survey of 1,000 worldwide organizations conducted by Capgemini Research Institute found that enterprises who improved their ESG scores also improved their brand image, investor relations, staff retention, customer satisfaction, and ultimately achieved financial benefits. Most importantly, they know that they are doing the right thing for people and planet. So what can we do about this? First, I'd recommend discovering your own IT carbon footprint and social impact. Among the global organizations surveyed by the Capgemini Research Institute, less than half, 43%, said they are aware of their organization's ICT carbon footprint. Far fewer are aware of their social impact. Spreading awareness about the need for IT sustainability and a comprehensive social strategy is vital. Half of the organizations surveyed by Capgemini said they have defined an enterprise-wide sustainability strategy, but only 1/3 of the organizations have established policies mandating the reporting of their IT carbon footprint or social impact. Only 18% said they have a comprehensive sustainable IT strategy with well-defined goals and target timelines. There are numerous consultancies and software tools who offer to help organizations discover their carbon footprint, and there are also a few who offer to identify social impact. If you would like to find out what other organizations are doing with their ICT carbon footprint, I suggest you consider joining Techies Go Green. Techies Go Green is a movement of IT and tech-orientated companies who are very committed to decarbonizing their businesses, with the main aim of helping every signatory become carbon neutral by 2030. They enable each member to purposefully improve their energy efficiency by collaborating and sharing practical know-how. Membership is free and open to all UK and Irish technology and IT businesses of all size and IT departments. I'm only aware of one support organisation that offers help with the E, S and G. This is Business in the Community, BITC, who I suggest you look up. ESG management software does exist. These products collect data and enable companies to track, manage and report on all areas such as energy and water usage, waste generation, greenhouse gas emissions, workplace safety and compliance metrics. ESG management software automates the process of gathering and analyzing data, potentially saving time and reducing errors. Data is collected from users via their devices or from connected systems, sensors, devices, and other components that play a role in any of the areas being tracked. Data that's gathered is aggregated, and then it's made available back to you on dashboards and reports to help with your decision making. Another tool is advanced grid management software. This helps supervisory control and data acquisition, utility energy management systems, and operationalized real-time capabilities that use physical and machine learning models, according to research firm Gartner. The software is used by electricity system operators to monitor and control energy resources across the electricity grid to maintain system stability and manage capital investments and measure carbon footprint. By deploying tools like these and implementing best practices, you can enhance your sustainability efforts. Server farms and those who operate server rooms are increasingly turning to renewable energy as a power source. There are several green energy offers available, as well as the option of investing in your own solar panels, wind turbines, and batteries. However, 80% of a computer's carbon footprint is in its production, its manufacturing. While many focus on the carbon footprint of electrical power consumption, this is actually a fraction of ICT's overall CO2 output. So I suggest that first, organizations need to set the foundation for sustainable IT by assessing their environmental footprint and social impact, and then creating a sustainable IT and community engagement strategy. Second, you need to create an effective governance procedure that supports the strategy endorsed at board level or from your top management. Third, you need to put that plan into practice. For example, by embedding sustainability software in the actual architecture of your organization and developing a sustainability and socially responsible giving back culture amongst your people, your employees. However, before we go down the track of looking at environmental and social and governance policies, there's a problem that has to be overcome, and that is data security, which is a prerequisite. This is because computers are different. TVs, sound systems, and other electronic devices do not store data. Computers do. So before we get into applying all these policies, we have to comply with the requirements of the Data Protection Act, GDPR, and each organization's own security requirements. To help me explore this with you, our workshop manager, Jonathan, is our in-house technical expert. This is quite complicated, and you can either buy in software to data wipe for you, for example, Blanco, or understand data wiping yourself. If you are interested in how to carry out your own data wiping, here is an explanation from Jonathan, our workshop manager.
The most important thing in terms of data wiping is to track the data. It's to track where a data carrying device has come from, what parts of a data carrying device are actually carrying the data, and then what happens to those data carrying components. Now, as soon as any computer, laptop, tablet, phone, whatever arrives in our workshop, the first thing that happens to it is we give it a physical identity, and that's in the form of a barcode or well, it's really a number, but it's represented by a barcode as well as a physical written number, and that allows us to track it regardless of whether it works or not, or turns on or not. The next step is that we digitally harvest as much, or electronically harvest, I'm not sure what the right phrasing there is, we harvest as much data automatically from the device as possible. So we plug it into our system, and our system will gather serial numbers, it will gather motherboard makes, models, serial numbers, it will gather any information that is available on the device digitally, and it will store that in a database, and it will associate it with the physical identity that we've given it. Well, that's done by our workshop staff. They will scan in the barcode, effectively associating it with that record. This allows us to very accurately track any physical asset that we can turn on and plug into our system, but also we've got the backup of the physical barcode just in case that device doesn't work and it can't be tracked. We then also open up devices if there's the potential for them to contain more than one data storage device, or if they've got the potential to contain a data storage device, but for some reason the digital report doesn't show that they've got one, or for any other, for many other reasons. But basically, this is just a check to visually verify, to physically verify that we have got all of the data storage devices within a device which can have data storage devices. If there are mechanical drives inside a computer, for example, we will also remove the mechanical drive from the computer, simply because mechanicals are quite, well, they're more likely than solid state drives to fail, but they're also much slower to erase, and it makes it much more space efficient, effectively, to take the drive out and wipe it in a drive wiping machine or in a drive wiping bay where you can wipe, say, 40, 50 drives at once, rather than just having one in a computer, which obviously takes up a lot of space if you've got 100 computers or 200 computers. At this point, we also assign a physical identity to any device we remove from a computer, any data storage device we remove from a computer. And this is automatically attached to the record of the device it came from. So if you've got a PC, you take out a mechanical drive, the mechanical drive has an identity, the PC has an identity, the two identities are linked, and both identities are linked back to the original source. So whoever the donor was, or whoever we acquired the computer from. Now, at this point, we've kind of got two separate paths. One path, the data storage devices are left in the original device. So, for example, if it's an NVMe drive in a laptop. And the other is we've separated the drive from the device. In both cases, the drives are then wiped. So in the case of the separated drive, which could also be, for example, if a laptop didn't work, we might remove a solid state drive. That's another case where you might remove a drive, but regardless, if you've removed the drive, you then take it to a separate wiping machine or area where you will then immediately erase it. If it's a mechanical drive, it will be an overwrite pattern, completely random, multiple passes followed by a pass of all zeros. We do the pass of all zeros at the end simply because it makes a full wipe verification easier. Now, we only do these sort of randomly as a small percentage of the total drives wiped because they're very laborious and time consuming, but effectively, if you've zeroed out a drive, it's very easy to have a little script or something that examines the entire drive, and if it finds anything on a sort of direct hardware level that isn't a zero, you know that there's some kind of data remaining. So that's just a quick check that we do, and that works for both mechanical and solid state drives. With solid state drives, we don't do the multiple pass overwrite because that is just bad for solid state drives, really, and it's also less efficient and way slower. Instead, what we will do is we'll harness the manufacturer inbuilt secure erase tools depending on the drive. So our software sends a message to the drive controller and basically says, what are you capable of doing in terms of secure erasure? And then the drive controller responds back and says, I can do these things. I can do a block-based secure erase, or I can do an encryption-based secure erase. And whatever it responds, we choose the most appropriate and we run that. In fact, with normal 2.5-inch SATA solids, actually with any SATA solid state drive, including M.2 format SATA solid state drives, we run both. If they're available, we run both block arrays, secure arrays, and enhanced secure arrays. And if it's an NVMe based, then again similar. And then at the end, if either of those don't work or they fail or they're not present, we have some other methods which apply to flash-based storage. With SATA-based, we actually our data wiping software produces basically a block-by-block trim command. So it runs through every single block and individually instructs that block to trim. This historically has been seen as quite dangerous for the drive because you can accidentally overwrite drive firmware or something, or erase drive firmware, but generally speaking it's not a problem, and generally speaking it's only on a very small proportion of solid state drives that you ever get to the point of needing to do that in the first place. So it's highly unlikely to happen, and if it does happen, it's just worth trying anyway, effectively. Absolute worst case scenario, if a solid state drive fails every other method, it does get overwritten.
When it comes to minimizing your carbon footprint as an ICT department, for example, the starting place I'd suggest is by talking to manufacturers and looking out for devices which are now being manufactured and offered to the market, which basically improve the whole carbon footprint arena and reduce CO2 emissions by using recycled materials and have lower power requirements. For example, Acer have produced a laptop called an Aspire Vero. This cuts CO2 emissions by 21% and uses 30% of recycled materials. In addition, they have an operating system that manages tasks, and VeroSense focuses on energy performance and smartly contributes to keeping the laptop running for longer with 4 performance modes: Performance, Balanced, Eco, and Eco Plus. This new range of laptops are also designed from the ground up to be infinitely repairable and upgradable, so they should last much longer and require far fewer reinventions and replacements. Each device given a true second life through refurbishment and upgrade where practical means a new one does not have to be manufactured. With 80% of a computer's carbon footprint being in its production, this means that every refurbished laptop saves the planet from 150 kilos of carbon dioxide emissions at a minimum, and each desktop a minimum of 250 kilos, that is a quarter of a ton of CO2. This is real, tangible, and substantial CO2 reduction. Jonathan will now explain the metrics behind this.
Significantly, the majority of the carbon cost of every IT device, be it a laptop or a computer or a phone or a tablet, is actually in the manufacture of the product itself. So every time you manage to put back an IT device into circulation that otherwise would not go back into circulation, you are effectively saving the manufacture cost of that device, or of manufacturing a new replacement device. You're not removing, for example, the transport cost because you still got to transport it. You're not removing potentially packaging costs or anything because you probably have to repackage it to get it out there. However, you definitely are removing the production cost, as in the CO2 production cost. We've done quite a lot of research into this. Well, it's not primarily our research. Basically, we've researched other people's research. So we've looked at Dell's reports, for example, for all of their different laptops and desktops, and how much carbon how much carbon they cost to produce, and the same with Apple devices, and the same with HP devices, so on and so forth. A lot of these organizations produce quite detailed breakdowns of the carbon cost of the devices they produce. And we went through and we took a low end average, basically, of these different reports, and a low end for desktops is about 250 kilograms of CO2 in production cost. Really, the average is more like 300 to 350. With laptops, we found a low end average to be about 150 kilograms. We believe the average is more closer to actually 250. But lighter laptops, Chromebooks, for example, they tend to be on the lower end of the scale. They tend to be around 150 kilograms. So to keep things fairly simple and straightforward, we calculate effectively the carbon saving based on those two lower end averages of 250 kilograms per desktop PC and 150 kilograms per laptop.
When it comes to being socially responsible and engaged in our communities, I would suggest starting where you are. Are there any charities that you, your staff or organisation already support? You could ask your staff for suggestions. Do any of your staff have children at school who support their local school, or a school they went to, or other local schools who can usefully use your laptops and desktops? Or you could even go as far as searching for local charities on a search engine. Another way is to outsource the social aspect and community engagement. And for example, business in the community put forward a range of possible charities for the Food Standards Agency to donate their IT equipment to. And Food Standards Agency staff voted on who, amongst the various charities that were offered, they would prefer their equipment to go to. If you'd like, we can introduce you to the team at BRTC who signpost charities to give to, and they can then help you with that whole distribution arrangement. Although again, if you wish to, you could talk to us. We focus on the most needy, where devices will make the most impact. We start with homeless youth. This year, around 86,000 young people in the UK will be homeless. I suggest you look at Land Aid, a charity that works as an umbrella organisation amongst homeless charities, and look up the statistics, with each number of those statistics being a young person. For example, we are placing computers into homeless shelters so they can immediately seek some work and somewhere long-term to live. We partner with Land Aid, Porchlight, Single Homelessness Project, Evolve, Look Ahead, and all kinds of others, including Centrepoint. We also support hospices, and we suggest that you look at hospices in your area. We appeal for surplus IT equipment for hospices, in particular iPads and tablets for inpatients to use so they can talk to their family and friends at any time, and laptops for outpatients so they can be assessed by doctors and nurses with health checks without having to visit, and they can also see their children and grandchildren. Within patients, there's a particular moment in time when they have to say their final goodbyes, when the medical staff can tell that they're in their last hours. That is a very poignant moment. Patients normally only go into hospice when they need intensive care, especially 24/7 pain management. Patients can be of any age, including children. They are usually only allowed one fully gowned, masked, gloved family member at a time to hold their hand and talk to them. There are wonderful caring staff, but it's not quite the same as your brothers and sisters. Being able to see your family face to face is so much better than just a phone call. So your devices can really make a difference. We also suggest supporting charity volunteers. We like to encourage people to give their time to their own local community as charity volunteers. We give free laptops to volunteers as a thank you, and also enabling them to support their charity even more. We suggest you consider this. There will probably be some charity shops or charities near you that can help you do this. We also focus on unemployed veterans. We provide free laptops for the unemployed veterans who are nominated by a local charity or at our event locations. This can help them job search and apply from home instead of having to go into the job centre or local library. It's difficult to do these things, as in apply for various things, on a mobile phone. And we're delighted to be working with the Royal British Legion and many military charities to achieve this. There are over 700,000 young carers in the UK. 1/3 of young carers have reported having a mental health problem, and 1/4 have difficulties at school due to their caring responsibilities. These are children under 18 who help look after someone in their family who is ill or disabled. Sometimes they manage the whole family, including brothers and sisters. This can include managing family finances, benefits, shopping, cooking, cleaning, and helping someone out of bed, bathing, getting dressed, washing, ironing clothes, collecting prescriptions, giving medicine, and communicating with the authorities. COVID-19 has meant that many young carers have been self-isolating, and still are, to shield the vulnerable, not going to school, and organising safety measures throughout their homes. This can mean a year or more of missed schooling, handicapping their education, career and life potential. Other children don't understand carers' responsibilities, and that carers have less free time than others, making friendships difficult. Young carer families are often on benefits and live in poverty. They are less able to afford computers, which are critical for their schooling and important for their social lives. I suggest you can help them. There are charities who specialise in helping young carers, and a good computer can often transform a young carer's life for the better. We also focus on bereaved forces children. There are over 1,000 bereaved military children in the UK without access to support. Any sudden death is devastating for a child. When the death is that of a member of the armed forces, there are additional factors to consider, such as the traumatic nature of a death in a combat situation, intense media interest, repatriation and inquest, and a service inquiry. If a person has been on active service or deployed elsewhere, it may be difficult for a child to comprehend that they won't be coming home as usual. It's natural to want to spare children from knowing how the death happened. However, it will soon become public knowledge, and it's better they hear the facts first. The family has often lost its breadwinner, a partner, a parent. Children can then go into shock and experience post-traumatic stress disorder, disrupting their schooling and life chances. Having their own device can be a source of solace, a way of reaching out to family and friends for encouragement, care and support. We recommend you have a look at Scotty's Little Soldiers and consider donating your devices to them. We also support schools in Africa through UK charities. In some developing countries, the school is the tree with the widest branches, and the teacher is a villager who can read and write the best, who may never have left the local region, with school attendances often doubling when IT is introduced into the curriculum and they get access to computers. IT literate children could get jobs earning several times what their parents do, supporting their extended families for a lifetime, helping their nation develop and lifting them out of poverty. Our Computers for Charity appeal delivers world-class IT-based education to an estimated 1.3 million children. And as Bill Gates said, that we can play a role in combating AIDS, malaria, and other infectious diseases. We're now working with other UK charities who support schools in Africa, and there are some specific charities like us who do that. And I'd like to recommend you consider the Turing Trust as a shining example of a UK charity just like us, but who focuses on Africa and does wonderful work. So I'd like to say, in conclusion, you can do this. You can reduce your carbon footprint by getting your devices used again. Have them data wiped, have them refurbished, and if possible or practical, have them upgraded so an older device can cope with today's modern software. And then get them given back into the community, either your immediate local community, schools and charities around where you're based, that you have some kind of relationship with. And our experience has been that when staff see that, they're just delighted to see their devices being reused and benefiting people around them in their immediate communities, or in terms of causes such as unemployed veterans that they're passionate about. This is altogether a good thing. So I'd do it yourselves, find someone to help you do this with, whatever way, please do it, because you're going to benefit people and planet. Thank you.